Good morning to all of you who are in the sanctuary with us, and good morning to all of you who are streaming with us. This is the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse. My name's Marianne Rivers, and I am coordinator for today as member of the Sunday Services Committee. Reverend Alex Jensen and I would like to bring you some thoughts about how poetry brings us beauty, how poetry is beauty, beauty in nature, beauty in relationships, beauty in animals and humans, beauty in our spirits, even beauty in death. Poetry really is an old friend to me. My father used to recite poetry to myself and my siblings, and we loved to listen to his voice and the rhythm of the words. My brother had some poetry also that he used to taunt me with. Roses are red, violets are blue, any skunk stinks, and so do you. Lovely. Well, I told him I was going to use that this morning, and he said, please, let me send you another poem. So I am going to honor that. His poetry still rhymes, but his content has matured quite a bit. This is called Spring 2. O spring, thy pleasant moment fleeting brings memories of springs repeating. With each forget-me-not which blooms, I wander through nostalgia's rooms. As daffodils bow and greet the day, Narcissus comes to scent the way. A yellow tulip, lovely, tall, dips her head to greet us all. Hold on, dear spring, unfold with grace, and slowly, slowly shine thy face. That's not bad for an old man who, he's older than I am, who used to pick on me quite severely. But we are not going to be going there this morning. Alex and I have some beautiful poetry to share with you. And so I invite you to get comfortable and realize that we are all here in peace and love and justice together this morning. We're going to begin with the beautiful, beautiful piece, For the Beauty of the Earth by John Rutter, which Barbara Young is going to play for us.
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I am the Reverend Alex Jensen. I use the pronouns he and him, and I bid you to bring your full self to this service, your bold and beautiful and undivided self. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate the breadth of diversity found amongst ourselves, the ways in which we are not only different from one another, but we also share so much where we are the same. No matter if you are LGBTQ+, if you are disabled or come with differing abilities, if you are someone whose life or family story draws from one or many different cultures or backgrounds, no matter what you have been told about how you exist or how you belong, you have a place for yourself here. We deeply hope that you will find a refuge for your spirit here with us this morning. And so as we embark on this exploration of beauty together, what it is and how we name or put words to it, how poetry itself has provided us with a lens for how to view and describe such indescribable things. Hear these words from Jennifer Kitchen. Come, sit by our fire and let us share stories. Let me hear your tales of far-off lands, wanderer, and I will tell you of my travels. Share your experiences of the holy with me, O worshiper, and I will tell you of that which I find divine. Come and stay, lover of leaving, for ours is no caravan of despair, but of hope. We would hear your stories of grief and sorrow as readily as those of joy and laughter, for there is a time and a place and a hearing for all the stories of this world. Stories are the breath and word of the spirit of life, that power that we name as love. Come, for our fire is warm and we have seats for all. Come again and yet again. Come speak to me of what fills your heart, what engages your mind, and what resides in your soul. Come, let us worship together. So as we enter into this time together, we acknowledge the land on which we live and gather, the land known to the Anishinaabe people as Kichiwi-Kwedong, the place of the Big Bay. We recognize the indigenous peoples who lived on these lands for generations before centuries of violence and colonization, the Ojibwe and Odawa who live in our region. We raise the birch bark basket holding the 4 sacred medicines of sweetgrass, cedar, sage, and tobacco, not to comfort or to make ourselves feel better about this harmful past, but to remind us to hold space for the Anishinaabe as we work to reconcile the harm of colonization. And as Unitarian Universalists, it is also our practice each Sunday to light the flaming chalice, the symbol of our faith. And we join in this chalice lighting with so many other communities and groups all around the country and world this Sunday morning who are also joining us in worship. Those of you who are tuning in online for our service, we invite you to kindle a flame at home or to light your own chalice as we light ours this morning. And I will read our chalice lighting words from the Reverend Andrew Pakula. In sightless night, terrors draw near, nameless fears of talon and tooth. Hopelessness yawns before us, an abyss alone and unknown in the gloom, longing for the dawn. O sacred flame, blaze forth, wisdom brought to life, guide us with the light of hope, the warmth of love, the beacon of purpose and meaning. Because we are all afraid of the dark, let there be light. And so we light the chalice today to kindle the warmth in our hearts and to remind us of our own light within, eager to come out to the day. Thank you. We sound our singing bowl now in our service to call us into this time to settle and center. And I invite you to listen together as we hear the sound reverberate into silence. So let us hear now our opening song, Water, performed by our very own music director, Renee Russell, and also with Nan Worthington on the harp.
Water by Claudia Rogers Bailey, who also happens to be my mother, a poet. Everything else wants to move like water, to make those perfect greenish, glossy curves, the lacy bubbled rollbacks at the rock, to learn the sleight of hand that first dissolves and then reissues light as boiling gold. By comparison, the wind is random and undisciplined. It shakes the branches like a cheer squad full of adolescent squirrels. Throws sun around like pale confetti that must be swept up later by whoever cleans the forest floor. But water always knows where it is going. It understands topography. It is persistent, an old philosopher, humorous and tolerant, sharing its perfect logarithmic spirals, its self-deprecating bubbles at every log and bank. It spends time with white-tailed deer and salmon, and even frogs and caddis larvae know that at the bottom, its intentions are much larger. Water is a seeker, following an ancient map of shifting contour lines. The swirls and eddies only trace the shape of what is just passed through and is already further on its pilgrimage to an enormous moon-shaped heart. Everything else wants to move like water. Thank you.
So now is the time in our service for the Time for All Ages. You will notice that I am not Betsy Hammerberg, our Director of Religious Education here. Unfortunately, Betsy couldn't be with us here this morning, but I happen to have the story that she has for us to share in our Time for All Ages that I thought I'd share for you, and it involves lots of poetry, which we'll have a lot more of also in our service later. So for those of you online who are young or young at heart, I invite you to get up close to the screen as much as you can and to come look at the wonderful visuals we have and to really listen to some of the words that we have to share. So something that we try to do as Unitarian Universalists is to see the world in different ways. We listen to other people's ideas and experiences, and we try to see the world as they do. That makes us kinder and more patient people. One of the things that I love the most about poetry is the way that it helps me to see the world in new ways. Anybody resonate with that before, seeing the world in new ways? It makes us, one of the things about it is when a poet describes something in a new way that is new to myself. Oh, wonderful, we actually have some kids with us this morning. I invite you to go ahead and scoot up, or if you want to take a chair. So when a poet describes something in a new way to me, it opens my eyes a little bit. Have you ever felt that way before, a little bit here and there? Two other things that I love about poetry is that it often makes me feel things in my heart. And it often wakes me up to how beautiful that the world can be at times. It keeps our hearts open to beauty and helps us to feel, which makes us strong and caring. So I'm going to read some poems for you now, and as I read them, I want you to put yourself into the world of the poem. What does the poem make you feel on your skin? What do you smell? What do you see? I personally see a wonderful wolf here today. Hello. Oh, pack of wolves, look at that. So what does it make you smell and what do you see? Do you happen to hear any noises as I read these poems? And what feelings do they give you in your heart? So our first poem is titled Go Wind by Lillian Moore. And I want you to go ahead and look at the screen over here. You can kind of see, we have got this picture here of a person playing in lots of leaves. So I'm going to read this poem for you, and I invite you to really listen and see what you hear, smell, see. Go wind, blow. Push wind, swoosh. Shake things, take things, make things fly. Ring things, swing things, fly things high. Go wind, blow, push things. Whoosh. No wind, not me, not me. So our next short poem that I have to introduce is titled April Rain Song, and this is by Langston Hughes. And go ahead and look at this picture here. That includes the words, but also kind of an image here of some rain. Let the rain kiss you. Let the rain beat upon your head with silver liquid drops, and let the rain sing you a lullaby. The rain makes still pools on the sidewalk. The rain makes running pools in the gutter. The rain plays a little sleep song on our roof at night. And I love the rain. Have you ever heard the sound of raindrops on the roof at night? Or maybe on a window or something like that? Our next poem is titled Dragon Smoke by Lillian Moore. And I want to invite you to see this image here. And I want you to imagine yourself blowing smoke out on a cold day. You know, like we're out in winter, you know, and you can kind of see your breath. I want you to imagine that. Breathe and blow white clouds with every puff. It's cold today, cold enough to see your breath. Huff. Breathe dragon smoke today. So I wonder if you'll think about that next time, cold weather, like you're breathing dragon smoke. And then another poem we have is called The Dark Gray Clouds, and this is by Natalia M. Belting. And I want you to imagine a cloudy, dark, rainy day. The dark gray clouds, the great gray clouds, the black rolling clouds are elephants going down to the sea for water. They draw up water with their long trunks. They march back again across the sky, and they spray the earth again with water. And people say that it is raining. You ever think about an elephant in the sky on a rainy day? That's kind of interesting. So our last poem that we have to share is titled Fish by Mary Ann Hoberman. And we have an image here on the screen as well. We've got some fishes here. I want to ask you to imagine watching fish. Where have you been where you've seen fish? Maybe at a doctor's or dentist office or someplace where there's an aquarium. I invite you to think about those moments where you've seen fish move. Look at them flit, lickety-split, wiggling and swiggling, swerving and curving, hurrying, scurrying, chasing, racing, whizzing, whisking, flying, frisking, tearing around with a leap and a bound, but none of them making the tiniest, 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 tiniest sound. So I hope you've enjoyed some of those poems that I really find a lot of beauty in. We don't have religious education classes today, but nevertheless, we'd still like to sing a song that is here just for you. So we invite you to remain in our service today as we sing this song twice through for you for our children's benediction.
But you don't have to go anywhere. Okay, you can just stay right here. I'd like to introduce the candidates we will be voting on next week. And those of you who are here, could you come up in front so people could see who you are? That would be so nice. I see Dusty Colton. I see Amanda Mangiardi. Judy couldn't be here today. They are for the Board of Trustees. For the Leadership Development Committee, Charles Brackett, Jim Linsell, and Nan Worthington. A busy morning, Nan. For the Endowment Committee, Nancy Doty. Did I see Nancy? No, I think not. And Don Pine. Did not see Don either. So these four of our congregation, plus the others, will be those who you vote for next week for those positions. And on the board out in the hallway are biographies of each one. Not too long, so it would take some time to read and see what they've done before. Thank you very much. I think of this time in the service as sharing in stewardship, as we all want to be part of the gifts given to grow and nurture ourselves and our congregation. Think of all the ways in which we can be of service to each other and to our neighbors and to our world. And this is the offering, which is only one very small way, but a very important way for our congregation. The offering is taken in baskets, passed one side for the congregation, the other side for those in need. One can also mail a check to the office or visit the website, UUCGT.org, or download Vanco, V-A-N-C-O, Vanco Mobile on your iPhone, and that's new. Please give in joy and hope. And now, let's listen to our meditation music.
So it is our practice as a religious community and a place of refuge and support for one another, where we set aside time in our service to name the joys and concerns that mark and touch our lives, the moments and milestones of our lived experiences. I will be sharing some of the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold on our hearts as we gather together this morning. If you have a joy or a concern that's a bit too heavy to share with us in our service, I invite you to reach out to myself or to the congregational care team. Judith, would you raise your hand? Judith is on the congregational care team and would be happy to speak with you. Is there anybody also from our Healthy Congregations team who would like to identify themselves in our service? So Barb back there is also a member of our Healthy Congregations team, which is another source of support for you. Or if it's something that you just don't feel ready to share yet, you're invited to simply hold it on your heart as you are held in the love of this community. None of us is meant to travel life's journey alone. And so now, here is what has been offered up for us to hold on our hearts this morning. We have a candle from Phyllis Jessup. I light a candle of love for Ali Gribby, Sean Paquette, and their unborn son, Hugo Paquette Gribby, who passed away 2 days ago at 27 weeks gestation. Baby Hugo made a valiant effort to come into this world, but succumbed to complications from high drops. So we light this candle for baby Hugo. We also have a candle of joy from Heather Shoemaker. Xander finished his last day of high school on Friday, and on graduation day next Sunday, we're excited that West High School's choir will be singing Xander's new choral composition at the ceremony. So congratulations to Xander and his graduation. And we now light one final candle for all of those joys and concerns that remain on our hearts, but are nevertheless remembered and not forgotten. Dear ones, let us pause for a moment to center ourselves for a time of prayer and meditation, resting into the peace and silence that we share in this moment together, feeling its heaviness as it draws us deeper. Let's take some deep breaths together as we do each Sunday, taking a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. Spirit of life, source, and presence of love, we come bearing much on our hearts this morning. We come to engage in that ever sacred and faithful endeavor of poetry, to name together the experiences on our hearts and minds, to put words both to the beauty of life and also to the pain of loss. As we join our hearts in this sacred naming, we offer our prayers for the community of Uvalde, Texas, after a devastating shooting that claimed the lives of 19 children. We hold on our hearts the countless shootings that have occurred in our nation, of Sandy Hook Elementary, of Columbine High School, of the 27 school shootings that have occurred in this year, in 2022 alone. We ask that we ourselves, as well as our elected leaders, are moved beyond just thoughts and prayers, but to action to protect the lives of our dearly beloved children. We must never stop at accepting the loss of life, the loss of our children's lives. We take a moment as well to hold the joys and concerns that we've shared in our service, holding the life of baby Hugo on our hearts, holding the joy of graduation for Xander and for the performance of his choral composition. As we hold this great breath of life and our lived experiences, may beauty itself remind us of the preciousness of life, of the specialness it is to make meaning, even in trying and hopeless times. May we together hold in this space that which we can't always name and that which we know we cannot hold on our own. May it be so, and amen. Mary Ann and I both will now share this morning's reading, a selection of poems. Our first of our selected poems is titled On Beauty by Khalil Gibran. And a poet said, "Speak to us of beauty. Where shall you seek beauty, and how shall you find her unless she herself be your way and your guide? And how shall you speak of her except she be the weaver of your speech? The aggrieved and injured say, beauty is kind and gentle, like a young mother half shy of her own glory, she walks among us. And the passionate say, nay, beauty is a thing of might and dread, like the tempest that she shakes the earth beneath us and the sky above us. The tired and weary say, beauty is of soft whisperings. She speaks in our spirit. Her voice yields to our silences like a faint light that quivers in fear of the shadow. But the restless say, we have heard her shouting amongst the mountains, and with her cries came the sound of hooves, then the beating of wings and the roaring of lions. And at night, the watchmen of the city say, beauty shall rise with the dawn from the east. And at noontide, the toilers and the wayfarers say, we have seen her leaning over the earth from the windows of the sunset. In winter they say, the snowbound, she shall come with spring leaping upon the hills. And in the summer heat the reapers say, we have seen her dancing with the autumn leaves, and we saw a drift of snow in her hair. All these things have you said of beauty, yet in truth you spoke not of her, but of needs unsatisfied. And beauty is not a need, but an ecstasy. It is not a mouth thirsting, nor an empty hand stretched forth, but rather a heart inflamed and a soul enchanted. It is not the image you would see, nor the song you would hear, but rather an image you see through though you close your eyes, and a song you hear though you shut your ears. It is not the sap within the furrowed bark, nor a wing attached to a claw, but rather a garden forever in bloom, and a flock of angels forever in flight. People of Orphalese, beauty is life when life unveils her holy face. But you are life and you are the veil. Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror, but you are eternity and you are the mirror.
Sometimes poetry is helpful when there are things on your heart that are so difficult to talk about. This is called Dirge Without Music by Edna St. Vincent Millay. I'm not resigned to the shutting away of loving hearts in the hard ground. So it is, and so it will be, for so it has been, time out of mind. Into the darkness they go, the wise and the lovely. Crowned with lilies and laurel they go, but I am not resigned. Lovers and thinkers, into the earth with you. Be one with the dull, the indiscriminate dust, a fragment of what you felt, of what you knew. A formula, a phrase remains, but the best is lost. The answers quick and keen, the honest look, the laughter, the love, they're gone. They are gone. They're gone to feed the roses. Elegant and curled is the blossom. Fragrant is the blossom. I know, but I do not approve. Most precious was the light in your eyes when all the roses in the world. Down, down, down into the darkness of the grave. Gently they go, the beautiful, the tender, the kind. Quietly they go, the intelligent, the witty, the brave. I know, but I do not approve, and I am not resigned.
Our third poem speaks to the beauty of connection and relationships, like a parent holding their child on their shoulders. And this is titled Shoulders by the Palestinian poet Naomi Shihab Nye. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he is not marked. Nowhere does it say in his jacket, fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing, and he hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling.
Our final poem today is What Does It Matter, Really? And I wrote it. I'm happy to share it. What does it matter, really, what is up there? Besides sun, moon, stars, planets, satellites, is it really up there? Or couldn't it be all around us? Perhaps pushing out of the dirt, standing right next to me, flying by. I was taught that God is in heaven, up there, that Jesus ascended into heaven, up there, that the Holy Ghost was up there waiting to complete the big three. And why up there? Out of reach. Maybe that idea was so much easier than looking at our fellow beings. Easier not to acknowledge that we are connected to this place, this earth, in such a strong way. The complexity of our bodies demands an explanation. The intricacies of a blossom must begin somewhere. The miracle of a fish, where did that start? That good old unmoved mover must be at the beginning of all the world, this universe, this mysterious place. But what does it really matter? We are here. We are connected in so many real ways. Live and love. Live and love. That's what really matters. And then we're gone.
How deep and expansive is the topic of beauty, especially with poetry itself as a lens for beauty? At times I can feel impressed when there is a poem or a piece of writing that simply takes my breath away, something that somehow seems to name exactly what it is that I am feeling, and words that can capture the images of a beautiful sunset or a roaring campfire, stanzas that in between their lines help me to uncover more than I thought I knew. Writings that speak so prophetically and unflinchingly about what it is to be human, what it is to feel and breathe, and what it is to grieve and also love. There is a beauty itself in how poetry works, how lines themselves need not rhyme or fit into the perfect meter in order to grab your attention or also move your heart in meaning and understanding. What I find fascinating is how any two people listening to the words of a poem will come with two different and intricate images in their minds while listening. How almost like reading a novel or a work of fiction allows each of us to envision the characters and scenes in our mind's eyes, picturing some characters as taller or with darker hair or brighter eyes than maybe our neighbors. Poetry itself also works in this way too, with how each of us is an active listener and actually engaging with the poem in our own ways. Granted, not everyone enjoys poetry, and I'm sure that there are actually even some of you here who don't too much care for it or who don't particularly enjoy reading Chaucer or Shakespeare. There may be some of us who don't care too much for all of the ambiguity found in poetry, how so much of it really is up to interpretations and what we bring to the listening. Even so, I think poetry has something special to teach us about what it means to be human, as well as what it means to see beauty across our lives in the different ways that we both encounter and also engage with it. I'd argue that there's a power in poetry in the real human attempt to not only name for us what is so hard to name with our words, but to do so in a way that actually draws us closer to others. There's a beauty in how a person can distill down into words something so powerful and moving that another person reading it can respond with a simple, "Yes, I felt that too. I know what that feels like." There's a part of us that yearns to make meaning of things in our lives that aren't always clear, making meaning of falling in love for the first time, of the beauty we encounter in the yellows, oranges, and purples of the evening sky, and when the time comes of making meaning of a life well lived, of putting words to the process of grief and loss that we know all too well, but so seldom have the words to name or describe. Beauty, as we see it through a poetic lens, is powerful in how we attempt to name that which we cannot name. How we try our best to find the right descriptor or word to best match what we feel so strongly in our bodies and our bones. How we attempt as well to be joined by others in that meaningful communion of, I've felt that too, and I know what that feels like. Putting words to the moments and challenges that touch our lives is nothing new to us. It's something we do implicitly even with song and music. How many of you have ever felt so much like of what you're experiencing or feeling can sometimes be captured so beautifully in a song or something that you hear on the radio? You know, almost like that song that you've tuned into your car radio, or even that you've hit shuffle on that playlist, and all of a sudden, you know, it feels like the song was somehow written for you, for that one particular feeling or moment that you're experiencing. I've often felt this feeling almost like the lyrics are imparting on me something that I somehow needed to hear amidst the hustle and bustle of life. Lyrics and songs are a form of poetry themselves too, with how they attempt to put into music the deepest yearnings of our hearts, the parts of ourselves that sometimes can feel messy or broken, the pieces that are filled sometimes so overwhelmingly with joy that all we can do is cry out in song. It's all poetry of trying to name what is beautiful, even the parts that are heartbreaking or painful. This past week, we saw a tragedy that many of us are attempting to make meaning of and trying to put words to with the what and how of what we're feeling. On Tuesday, 19 children and 2 teachers were killed in yet another school shooting. The shock and disbelief and the real fear that we feel, especially for those of us who are parents or have young children in our lives, it's heavy. I wonder how many of us are still making meaning of this, of what it means that 19 children lost their lives, of what it means that we as a nation have been unable to prevent or put a stop to shootings like this, how we are somehow more okay with people having access to guns and deadly weapons rather than protecting the lives of our children. This is a moment where many of us are feeling defeat or hopelessness, how more children have lost their lives and yet somehow nothing changes. Some of us are perhaps even numb to this feeling that the world is full of so much pain and tragedy these days that there seems to be no place that we can turn without seeing more pain, sorrow, and loss. I believe poetry reminds us that we are not alone in moments like this, where we have no words or we can't just put a finger to what it is exactly that we are feeling or experiencing. I believe that the beauty of poetry itself is how we can almost take refuge in not having the perfect words or the right stanzas in order for us to say together, yes, we feel that too. We know what this hopelessness and despair feels like. And yet somehow beauty can still be found in the harder parts of our living, found in the preciousness of life, of the immeasurable worth and potential of every single human life. At times when we have no words, our hearts themselves cry out. Our spirits turn to what we know in order to name or make sense of tragedy and loss. And in this turning, we somehow find beauty there amidst the hurting and broken pieces. We somehow find the words or music we need to carry on. The poetry that meets us right where we are and helps us to hold that which we cannot hold on our own. Our exploration of beauty through the lens of poetry is not just focused on the joyful and easy parts of living. Certainly, we can find joy in describing the rhythms of the wind, in the song of April's rains, and the beauty of a child resting on his parent's shoulder. We can find beauty in the love that we feel for one another, the preciousness of a powerful or transcendent experience that we fail to fully grasp with our words. We also find beauty in those other places, of the light that we find in the eyes of another, even knowing that they are now gone. We find beauty in the memories that these words themselves carry, even if we cannot go back to that perfect sunset or return to a far gone time in our own past. In order to find beauty, we must allow beauty itself to be our way and our guide, as Khalil Gibran tells us. In his words, the aggrieved and the injured say, beauty is kind and gentle. The tired and weary say, beauty is of soft whisperings. She speaks in our spirit. It is not a mouth thirsting, nor an empty hand stretched forth, but rather a heart inflamed and a soul enchanted. It is not the image you would see, nor the song that you would hear, but rather an image you see though you close your eyes, and a song that you hear though you shut your ears. Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror, but you are eternity, and you are the mirror. So much of what we can say of beauty is as this thing that is far off from us, something far out of the reaches of our imperfect world and our imperfect selves. So much we can say about beauty as something that shakes and moves, that is something that is both kind and gentle, yet also mighty and firm. Each of us in our lives is writing poetry, even if we never knew it, or never even put our thoughts into words. To live life itself is to be in constant relationship with meaning-making. Listening to our lives itself is only one such way that we engage in poetry. And our poems of our encounters with beauty itself reside in our hearts, in the times and moments that we are still parsing out and even making sense of. Poetry goes beyond what is written into those neat little rhymes or formal stanzas and structures. The beauty of it is that it's all poetry, that we ourselves never stop wrestling with life and struggling to make sense of that which is without word or name. Mary Ann's own poem speaks to something profound about beauty, how beauty can be found all around us, not as something that is far off or way up there. Instead, beauty can be found right here, even in the midst of sorrow and pain. We as Unitarian Universalists believe that each one of us is, in a sense, a prophet. How it's up to each of us to encounter that transcendent mystery and wonder that has informed human beings throughout the ages, to try our best to grasp it and then to make meaning of it. How we are each on this unfolding journey, spiritual journey and path that goes way beyond what we may know or could ever have anticipated. In our time for all ages, we are invited to find ourselves within poetry. How there's beauty found in the simplicity of naming what we find beautiful or moving, even if we are afraid our words themselves won't be enough. I invite each of you to listen to your lives, to find the poetry that resides there beyond words themselves, beyond neat lines and stanzas. I invite you to reflect on beauty as you see it and encounter it, especially in those unexpected and unlikely places. How might you name this beauty, even the harder parts? And what still resides in your heart that you have yet to fully name? May we each listen deeply for where beauty itself resides. May we not be daunted when our words fall short, even when we fail to have what it takes to name the things exactly as they are. In the end, may we find hope in the beauty of life, in the beauty of our imperfect, poetic lives. May our lives be testaments to that which is greater, that which is larger and untamable, that we try our best to grasp. May we find together that familiar sense that poetry gives us, that sense that we are never truly alone. That familiar, yes, we feel that too. We know what this feels like. May it be so, and amen. We'll hear now our closing song, performed by the vocal ensemble, Hope Lingers On.
I like the first one better.
My mother, when love is gone, my mother, when love is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on.
My father, when peace is gone, my father, when peace is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here.
My sister, when equality's
Equality's gone, when equality's gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on.
my brother, when tolerance
Tolerance gone, with tolerance gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here.
my love,
My love,
when honor is gone, my love,
when honor is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. My country, when justice is gone, when justice is gone, in our darkest hour, hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour, hope lingers here.
It's been a while since we've heard clapping in here, isn't it? But thank you very much. I'll speak for the VE. We are so happy to be together and singing for you, and happy that you enjoyed it. I'm now going to extinguish the chalice with a poem called "The Work We Share" by Krista Taves. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us, together, in our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spirits. Amen, and blessed be.
So in the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, in the spirit of beauty and our best attempts to name it, may we be made ready to serve one another and to create this world that we so desperately dream of. Go in peace all, Happy Sunday. May it be so, and amen. Our service is now at its end. We invite you to a time of fellowship in our social hall, masked, of course. Those of you that are online, we invite you to join our virtual social hall on Zoom at this point. If you need the link to that, you can find that in the Flash, our weekly e-publication, or also on our website. Good to see all of you with us today. Go in peace and grow in love.
Yeah, I did goosebumps. That was wonderful.
That mattered.
Okay, good.